Pretty.
What's up, stream? How are we doing today? We still in that Christmas spirit, chat. Yes sir, you gotta know that, chat. Today we are going to be reacting to short Christmas horror stories, chat. So you know what I'm saying, if you're watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe, turn on post notifications so y'all don't miss another banger by your boy Fire. Check out links in the description down below: Twitter, Insta, TikTok, and Twitch. And also my Twitch name will be right down there, TRXBZ Fire. You know what I'm saying? And turn on post notifications on Twitch so y'all don't miss another banger stream as well. You know what I'm saying? So y'all don't, you know, miss out and y'all get to see me live. Come on, chat. Also, chat right here. You know what I'm saying? Christmas spirit. Let's go. My shirt says world's tallest elf. You know what I'm saying? It's true though. It's true. I'm low key pretty tall. You know what I'm saying? 6'2", maybe even 6'3". About to be 6. My bad, chat. Anyways, chat. Without further ado, let's just get straight into this, chat. Let me pull up the horror stories, chat, so we can react to these. All right, chat. Let me know. Is this okay, chat? Y'all can see this? Hold on. Let's y'all can see straight. All right, good. Now I'm gonna dim down the lights. I don't know, should I dim down the lights or have them off? Nah, y'all can't barely see me, so I'm gonna just have it dimmed down. All right, chat, but I'm excited, chat. Let's go. Christmas horror stories. Story 1, anonymous. Yo, chat.
When I was newly single after my...
Hold on, my bad. I'm gonna just pause this real quick. Got my hot Ooh, I can't even speak. Got my hot cocoa right here, chat. You know what I'm saying? My hot chocolate. I'm not trying to tip this, but y'all can see that, right? Yeah, got the hot chocolate in there. It's steaming. Chat, know y'all can see that steam. Look at that steam. It's steaming. Gang, you look like a rat. You look like a baguette. It's all love though, bruh. Alright, you're chill. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, chat, let's get straight. Let's get back into this. I don't want to alright, let me dim down the lights real quick. I don't want to, you know. Can you react to a video, broski? I got you. Yeah, we reacting to short Christmas horror stories right now, chat. We doing 3. We reacting to 3 of them. I just wanted to say, you know, got the hot chocolate here because, you know, I gotta stay warm, gotta stay, you know, it's cold outside, you know. But anyways, let's get back into this. Hold on, let's go back like 5 seconds. Oh shoot. Okay, never mind. No. Okay. All right, there we go.
When I was newly single after my 2-year relationship ended, I was back to living alone again and back to swiping on Tinder and all those apps. I had been single for a few months already, and I had met a few people in that time. During that time, I matched a girl on Tinder named Tracy, and she gave me her Snapchat, but it quickly fizzled out to her just watching my stories and not really communicating. That kind of used to happen all the time when I was in college. But now being in my late 20s, using Tinder, and just being reminded of how immature all this online dating stuff is, to see and peace and quiet.
Alright, chat, you know what? Never mind. We're going to do an animation one because I don't know why. Because I don't know why it's like... Alright, 3 very true. Alright, there we go. Alright, chat. Let's go. Yo, chat, is this Christmas or Halloween, chat?
This happened a few years ago on Christmas. At the time, I was just a kid, and as I grew up, I gradually became aware of how messed up my family was. On the surface, everything was fine. I had a little sister, a mom, and a dad who took care of us. Perfect, right? Well, not really. My parents were always fighting. My dad was arrested for being violent with my mom on multiple occasions, but no matter what he did to her, she always took him back. I just chalked it up to them trying to hold it together for me and my sister. But something much darker was going on. By the time I was a teenager, I figured it out. They both had serious drinking problems. Every time my dad got drunk, he became angry and violent, and my mom would get drunk just to cope with him. It was an ongoing deadly cycle, and me and my sister didn't really know what to do about it. However, on the night of Christmas Eve, my parents threw a party. They hosted some neighbors and relatives to trade gifts, play games, share food, and have a good time together. It was all going fine until the drinking started. Once night fell, the conversations turned to arguments, then to fighting. My dad started swinging at multiple people at the house. People tried to break it up, but whatever they did or said just fanned the flames. Eventually, my mom started begging everyone to leave before things escalated. Our relatives were hesitant, but little by little, everyone left, with no one else around. My dad screamed at us to go to our room.
The family feud,
the arguing and shouting between my parents didn't stop though. They kept going at it all night, from our beds. All we could hear was fighting. My sister and I were terrified, but we had also become numb to it. We had Christmas morning to look forward to. It kept us sane until the screaming subsided a few hours later. Then we finally passed out. The next morning, it was Christmas, and things were oddly quiet. So we got up and carefully made our way downstairs. At the bottom of the steps, we met our parents, who were already waiting for us in the living room. Our mom was sitting on the couch, wearing sunglasses for some reason. Our dad, however, was standing right by the tree, with a wide beaming smile on his face. It was so unnatural. My sister and I hesitated to approach the Christmas tree. Our dad had to wave us over to open our presents. We looked to our mom for confirmation, but she just sat there without acknowledging our existence. I really tried to open my present, act surprised, but when my forced reaction was met by complete silence from my mother, I snapped.
Dad, why is Mom wearing sunglasses inside?
Bro, maybe,
and why isn't she saying anything?
She's drunk from last night. She'll be awake shortly.
Mom, what the hell? Why are you drinking if you can't even wake up on time for Christmas? Can't you put the goddamn bottle down? Well, is that it? You just gonna ignore me? Say something!
Son, I think she passed out. She can't even hear you.
Well, good going, Mom! You ruined Christmas!
I couldn't take it anymore. I had to remove myself from the situation. I thought my dad would follow me into my room or demand that I come back out, but he didn't. He kept his attention on my sister. I could hear him telling her again and again, "Keep going. Open your presents, baby." I felt bad for blowing up on my mom in front of my sister, but that would pale in comparison to what I would soon feel. I didn't leave my room all day. I was too angry. Eventually, my sister came to hide in our room with me for the rest of the night. But then all hell broke loose a few hours later. Suddenly, we heard our dad screaming. He was wailing, crying out in pain. We ran to see what was wrong with him, and that's when we saw him breaking down next to my mom. He kept saying she was dead as he cradled her in his arms, and I could tell by then that he was right. Her body was gray, swollen, and stiff. My mom was dead. Soon, an ambulance came and took her body away, but the cops that showed up wouldn't leave. They multiplied, and before we knew it, cops were swarming our house, and then they took our dad away too. After we were relocated to our grandmother's house, we learned the truth. Our dad confessed to killing our mom. He strangled her on the night of Christmas Eve after hours of arguing. What that meant slowly set into my traumatized mind. He killed her, then dragged her body onto the couch, propped her up, put sunglasses over her lifeless eyes, and made my sister and I open presents in front of her corpse. Ever since then, we've lived with our relatives while our dad is in prison. I still feel this immense guilt and shame for cussing her out, not realizing she was dead the entire time. One of the most downright disturbing Christmas incidences was when a man videotaped his stepchildren opening Christmas presents with their dead mother propped up on the couch. William Wallace, 39, was convicted of second-degree murder for the Christmas Day 2011 death of 26-year-old Zazelle Preston.
This
Jurors
is real,
began
yo!
on Tuesday and reached a verdict the next morning. The victim's two daughters from a prior relationship and the couple's baby were in the apartment at the time their mother passed. Authorities determined Preston died at about 1 a.m., but Wallace propped up her body on the couch while he videotaped the girls opening presents later that morning. Wallace called 911 at around 9:30 a.m. that Christmas morning to report his wife needed medical help, according to police. Wallace has a known history for going to jail in the past because of past physical altercations with the victim. 3 days before the victim's death, she told family members she wanted to leave Wallace, but unfortunately, it was too late.
The real Krampus. Oh, shoot.
This happened on the night of Christmas Eve. My family was throwing a party, and those were always a blast. For everyone else, it was just like any other Christmas party. For me, however, it was a little more special. This was the first night I felt genuinely happy in over a year, and the beginning of a brand new chapter of my life after finally putting an end to the last one, which had taken a heavy toll. It had all started with my ex-husband Bruce. When we married, he was caring and supportive, but shortly after just a few short months, he showed his true colors. He became controlling, psychotic, and violent. It was like a switch flipped off inside him, because everything was just off about him, and not the person I once knew. My family would advise that I get a divorce, but I was too afraid of what the guy might do. Eventually, though, I went with my family's advice and finally got the divorce from Bruce. But the second it was finalized, Bruce went off the deep end, and his paranoia transformed into psychosis, showcasing his violent tendencies.
You daughter of a I hate your guts! I wish you never existed!
After the divorce, I decided to file a restraining order for my safety, which seemed to finally put an end to the whole ordeal and allow me to move on with my life. And since that day, I never saw Bruce. However, there was just one problem. Bruce's brother literally lived right across the street from me. I wasn't too worried about it, however, because the two never really saw eye to eye, so I doubted he would take a strong side in the divorce, let alone let him in his house. That being said, Christmas was just around the corner, so I gathered all my family and friends together by hosting a Christmas Eve party at my place. To be honest, I was kinda worried about seeing Bruce or anyone related to him since they were literally across the street from us, but I tried to disregard any of that and just enjoy my guests' company. With that in mind, the Christmas Eve party was going well. Everyone ate, played games, opened presents, made gingerbread houses, took pictures, surrounded the Christmas tree, and even snuggled up by the fireplace to keep warm. Everything was going great, and there was not an ounce of drama. Then, out of nowhere,
Chat. I thought stuff like this wasn't real, chat.
a booming sound cut through everything. We all stopped and looked at the front door. It was still swinging from the person that had just barged through it. The person standing in front of everyone was wearing a Santa Claus suit with a giant sack over his shoulder. For a moment, we were all just a bit shocked, wondering if someone had
Imagine the dude in the Santa costume would flash his okay. Yo!
hired a Santa for the little ones, or if this was just some weirdo off the street. But when the man behind the beard locked eyes with me, I realized the truth. As everyone was still deciding if they should be cheering or scared, I knew it was my ex-husband Bruce. I was terrified, yet also furious. I knew my family had my back, but I still wanted to deal with this myself as swiftly as possible. I was the first to get up and confront Bruce, hoping there was still a chance to get him to leave before things got any worse.
Bruce? What are you doing here? Don't you remember what the court said? 500 feet.
I remember how you cheated me out of every dollar I had. You gold-digging. Touch it, man! Don't touch her! Oh, I'm not gonna touch her. I just came to say...
I hope you rot in hell, along with every thieving, scum-sucking waste of flesh in this room. You took everything from me. Your soul will die 1,000 screaming deaths in agony for every second of shit you put me through.
Hey! Leave her alone or I'll call the cops! Not this time. And why is that? I said not before I give you all the presents I brought. No, nuh-uh, no way, dude. Just pick up your shit and leave. We're begging you.
No, please! Bruce, I'm begging you.
Chat. They all got slimed out like the Uchiha. Just play the Prowler sound.
The Covina massacre occurred on Christmas Eve 2008 when Bruce Jeffrey Pardon, a disgruntled ex-husband dressed up as Santa Claus, entered a property belonging to his former in-laws in Covina, California, and took out the 9 people before setting the house on fire, and then doing the unthinkable to himself later on at his brother's residence in the early hours of Christmas Day. Police speculated that Pardo's divorce, which had been finalized only 1 week before the killings, was a factor in why Pardo had decided to take out his ex-wife and her relatives.
Chad, that is crazy. The Christmas neighborhood from hell, or neighbor from hell.
What I'm about to talk about still creeps the hell out of me. It happened around Christmas a few years ago. I live by myself in a small town with a population of just a few hundred people. I have very few neighbors, but the ones I do have, I know fairly well. We look out after one another whether there's a storm or utility outage, or anything like that. Like I said, this all went down during the holidays, so everyone in the neighborhood had their porches and front yards decorated with tinsel, Christmas lights, and that sort of thing. Everyone except my next door neighbor Mark. Mark didn't exactly celebrate Christmas. In fact, he was kind of the black sheep of the town. Some people even shunned him due to rumors that he was gay, but none of that ever made a difference to me. I didn't want to be like everyone else and judge people over things like that. Anyway, the guy lived literally right.
Does it clap or jiggle? It does both, okay? It does jiggle. I'm not gonna show you though because it's crazy, but if you want to hear it clap. Let's get back to this.
Next door to me, so I always tried to be cordial. We often ran into each other outside and made small talk, but that's all it ever led to. Mark would frequently invite me over for dinner at his house, but I always made an excuse not to go. I didn't want him to get the impression that I was interested. I would kindly just tell him that I was busy or say something like, maybe next time. Fast forward to Christmas time, and nearly a decade of peace and quiet suddenly went out the window as more and more weird things began to happen. Every other night, I would notice a car pulling into the driveway next door, and it was always a cab dropping a man off at Mark's house.
Like Willie from The Simpsons,
I was no stranger to seeing his flings come and go from time to time, but that was honestly very occasional. I tried not to give it much thought, but I must admit, it was just weird as hell. Of course, it truly wasn't any of my business until something extremely disturbing happened one night. I remember being fast asleep when all of a sudden, I was woken up by the sound of someone banging on my door. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew it had to be serious, so I got up to check. When I opened the door, I saw a guy I could only describe in that drowsy state as a grown-up and kind of a washed-out Charlie Brown. He just had that look to him, with the big round head, thinning hair, and helpless attitude. Immediately, he started begging me to help him, even trying to nudge his way past me into my house. I stopped him at the door, and as I saw my neighbor Mark approaching us, I started to gather what was going on.
Please, you have to help me. Don't let him near me. Who? Mark? What did he do?
Hey, don't worry about him. He's just overreacting.
Look into my eyes. Does it look like I'm overreacting? I don't know what's going on. I'm not sure I want to get involved. Just let me stay in your house until my Uber gets...
Yo, look. I see the parallel. I see the resemblance. I see it. I see it. Let's continue.
It's here. Is that okay?
Sure.
At that moment, the last thing I wanted to do was ask questions. I just wanted to get the guest out of town so we could all go back to bed. The three of us just waited around my porch for about 20 minutes in awkward silence. Then the guy's ride came to pick him up. The awkwardness was almost over, but of course, Mark made sure to invite me over for dinner before leaving me alone. I found it stranger than usual, as it was almost midnight, but I kindly declined like I always did. Back inside, I went upstairs to my bedroom, but before laying down, I pulled my blind slightly open and glanced out my window. What I saw that night, I still sometimes see when I look outside my house. Mark was standing on my front lawn, looking right up at me. His fists were balled up, and he had this pissed off look on his face, just like a spoiled toddler that didn't get what he wanted. For a grown man, it was a scary sight, but I sensed that by helping his date escape whatever they were engaged in, I had unmasked my neighbor's true nature. I don't know if he ever looked away that night, as I eventually couldn't take it anymore and closed the blinds on him. After that, I avoided Mark for the rest of the holidays, and he seemed to be avoiding me as well. I didn't hear anything from or about him until a few days after Christmas, when shit really hit the fan. Suddenly, I looked outside, and Mark's house was surrounded by cops. There were helicopters in the sky and news crews all over the place. I had no idea what Mark had done until a reporter told me so she could get a reaction out of me for an interview. According to her, Mark had lured that same Charlie Brown-looking man back to his house and killed him. Even worse, Mark didn't just murder him, but he ate him too. All those years, I had been living right next to a cannibal. Looking back, it makes me sick to think about all those times he invited me to dinner, knowing how many other men had visited his house. I have to wonder just how many other victims he had other than the men I met. I'm just glad I wasn't one of them. On December 24th of 2019 on Christmas Eve, a 25-year-old man named Kevin Bacon was taken out by Mark Latunsky, a 50-year-old man he met on Grindr, who had a long history of severe mental issues. Allegedly, Latunsky castrated Bacon and ate some of his remains. After Bacon didn't show up on Christmas Day to spend time with his parents, a search went out. When the recovery of Bacon's car, wallet, and cell phone led investigators to the Grindr app, and subsequently to Latunsky's doorstep, the perpetrator let them in without complaint. There, on December 27th, they found Bacon's dead, mutilated body hanging upside down from Latunsky's ceiling. Latunsky freely admitted to investigators that he had stabbed Bacon to death, and then castrated him and ate from his remains. Latunsky's attorney says Latunsky suffered from severe delusions about his identity, and even claimed he was of royal family lineage. Between his arrest and trial, Latunsky's attorney said never did Latunsky express any remorse.
That's actually wild, chat. Like, all those stories were real. That's crazy.